Hi, everybody. I'm Karyn. I'm from Rush Physical Therapy in Mount Prospect. I am a lymphedema and an oncology rehab therapist with our ReVital cancer rehab program. So thank you, everybody, for joining today. A couple just things to start out with. For those of you who aren't familiar with working with exercise-resistant bands, I know we had included a link via Amazon to order some bands, just so you're aware of the progression of bands. I did include in there yellow, red, and green. So yellow is the starting point band, red is the middle, green is kind of the middle of the road. If you are have any other bands, yellow is typically yellow with any other brand. Red and orange are of the same tension. Depending on manufacturer. So if you have any other bands that you're using, red and orange are similar tension. And then green is typically green across most manufacturers. So just that's kind of a starting point so we all understand our bands. All of these exercises as well, I believe most of them can also be done without resistance. Depending, we all may have different kind of orthopedic involvements as well, despite being here for an oncology program. So by all means, there's always going to be a difference between muscle workout and pain. We don't want to work we don't want to work within pain. So if you are feeling any pain, a lot of times what we'll try to do is start with like a lower tension. If that still doesn't alleviate the pain, we try to shorten the range that you're working with. And lastly, I would like eliminate the resistance, or maybe that just isn't the exercise for you. A lot of these muscles are our postural exercises. So what we could start in with today is like starting out with seeing where we feel with about 10 repetitions. Normally when we do our exercises, we want to build up to about 35 reps, somewhere around there, with taking little breaks in between. So a good goal would be about 3 sets of 10 with all of these exercises. It's not necessarily about the number you do, it's also about the form with which you use and the quality. So just be mindful of that. It's not about jumping yourself up to like the toughest band. It's about starting where you could do those 30 reps and you're a little challenged, and then don't move on to that next band color till you can accomplish your 30 repetitions comfortably, and you need a little bit more challenge to jump up band color. So that's just kind of some of our baseline. What I would also suggest too, I didn't include with this a warm-up routine, but we always just want to make sure we warm our muscles up. So even if you just do a little bit of marching in place, that's always advised. You know, you can do some arm circles before just to warm that up. If you're seated in a chair, you could sit and touch your toes. You could cross your leg and stretch across that way. So it's always just good to warm those muscles up a little bit, just get the blood flow and get your body moving before we start. So I'm giving you guys a couple minutes to just even march in place and move your arms around a little bit as a dynamic warm up. And then we'll go ahead and get started with our exercises. So for most participants, what I would say is you want to start with some of these. When we're working our arms, we're working smaller muscle groups than when we start to do some of the stuff for our legs. So, you know, if you want to start at a comfortable point, it might be advised to start with that yellow band. I will demonstrate and start with the red because it's what I have. But for those participating, I would say grab your yellow band and let's start with that. So the first exercise on the list that I have is to work our shoulder blades. So on the picture, it shows your arms here. So we're always going to start with a little bit of tension on that band. So it's not like slack in the middle. We're going to have it taut, but not that we're pulling on it. And then we're going to pull our shoulder blades back. So if you are having a little bit of difficulty with that, we don't want to start where our shoulders are shrugging way up. We want to start with keeping our shoulders level and then just pulling back and then slowly letting it come forward. If we're having a difficult time holding our shoulders up, you can also just start down a little bit and then just work. You're still going to work your shoulder blades. You're just going to work them a little differently. And as we're doing this, that looks better. As we're doing this, we want to think of pulling back with our shoulder blades. Keep your elbows straight as you're doing it. So even if you need to come all the way down to here and then go back out to where you feel like you're squeezing your shoulder blades a little bit. So for everybody who can tolerate it, we're going to come in this position and we're going to try 10 of those. Depending on, you know, what we've had, this crosses multiple lines. with doing strength training. So strength training is super important. This is a really good postural exercise. So anybody who's had any type of treatment or cancer-related surgeries that would involve them wanting to be in a more forward position. A lot of our lung and breast cancer patients tend to want to adopt a little bit more of this posture. So working those shoulder blades really helps to kind of correct some of those postural issues. Okay. Are we all feeling pretty good with that? That's a little tough. And again, same thing. If you don't feel comfortable using a band, you could still squeeze your shoulder blades by just not using resistance. So know that that's always an option. When we're squeezing our shoulder blades as well, it's not a squeeze them up and back. We want to think of squeezing them down and back as well. So our arms will still get heavy with just holding our arms up there. So for anybody who's feeling shoulder pain, feel free to just kind of take that resistance out of it, okay? Next on the list, we're working a little bit of those shoulder muscles. So we could stand on that band. I like to come up a little bit more. We get a little bit more rotator cuff stability. By all means, we could come straight forward, but on the picture we have going out to like a 45-degree angle. Same thing, we want to try as much as we can to keep that shoulder not elevating up, and we want to keep our elbows nice and straight. So we could try 10 on our right. And we might notice differences too when we're doing these. If you have an orthopedic problem on one side, you might have to do no resistance. Or if you're a certain arm dominance, you might notice that you're able to do that 10 with one side. And then you have to switch it and then try the other side. So we're really trying to go to that like 45-degree, go a little more 45. And let's try this with our thumb up. Okay, so we're in this position and we're coming more. So when I say 45, come to here, and then, does that make more sense? So we had a little correction here. So I'm trying to give you guys a good angle for the online people. This I would call just straight out to your side. What we're working is a little bit more at this angle. So I'm not going all the way in front of me. I'm going halfway between in front of me and all the way out to the side. So we're getting about a 45 angle. I mean, usually if you go to shoulder height, you're going to be okay. Again, we're trying to just isolate out that shoulder too. So we don't want to get a lot of like this type of motion going as well. Work within the range you could tolerate working. So we're here, just working that muscle. Okay. I think we're all doing pretty good here. And then online people, if we get to a point, if you want to just put a little note next to any exercises that you have questions with, we by all means can do that as well. Okay. Our next, we're moving on. We're still working a lot of those shoulder blade muscles. So we're coming in through here. Our elbows are going to stay snuggled to our side for this exercise. This is a lot of rotator cuff work. So again, if you have shoulder issues, this might be a tough one for you to do. But what we're trying to do is keep our hands facing each other. So I have some tension on it here. Our thumbs are facing up to the ceiling. We want our thumbs and our elbows, our thumbs are going to stay up to the ceiling. Our elbows are going to stay bent to 90 degrees. And we're going to pull that band out. As we do that, we don't want to let our elbows straighten. It's just working that type of motion. That looks good. Okay, so we're going to try 10 of those. Again, if, depending on what your strength feels like, if you have pain in one shoulder, you could always just hold that shoulder stable and still work the other arm. Or you could tie this to a door. Make sure it's a door that opens away from you so it doesn't snap. And you can work that way. And just work the one arm if you do have any shoulder problems, or if you're still currently working through range of motion issues or anything post-surgical. Okay. So that's that one as well. Do we have any questions? You guys all did go out well on that one. So same thing, you should feel like you're squeezing those shoulder blades down and back. Okay, next one we're going to go into is working a little bit more. We can call it like a cheerleader or diagonals or X's. We're going to start in that same starting position that we started with the first one. Again, if you're somebody who struggles a little bit with overhead motion, this might not be the exercise for you, but we're going to start at that starting point and then we're going to pull out and back. So I'm pulling out and back, and then we come back to neutral. And then we go out and back to neutral, out and back. You're getting a little more of that shoulder blade motion. Perfect. And same thing, if you're struggling with bands, you can come here and just do that as an exercise to work a little bit of that as well. Okay. Is everybody feeling pretty good with that one? Are we starting to feel that our arms are getting a little bit of a workout? Good. Okay, our next, I have these on there and I do not know. Okay, so I'll do these. I did not tie our bands here in knots yet because I was letting everybody, and same thing, I know your bands at home, you didn't come with knots. So I'm tying a nice loose knot in my band. What we're going to do, now you can use just your body, or if it's too tough to do this, you could also slide up the wall. But what we're doing, we're coming out and putting a little tension on the band, and then we're working up. And we have someone here that you didn't even have to tie it. If this is hard to do, so start with your elbows bent, and we're pushing up as we're pulling out. So kind of put this outward pressure against the band as you raise up and as you raise down. So that tension on the band should stay there throughout the motion. If this is something that you struggle a little bit with, so we're trying to keep this tension the whole time we're raising up and down. If this is something that's a little bit difficult for you, you can use the assistance of just sliding up a wall. And that might make it a little bit easier because you're not relying as much on your same muscle strength to lift those shoulders up and back. And again, just as a gentle reminder, as we're lifting our arms and doing these things, we're still using a lot of our core muscles and everything as well. So if you are starting to get tired, feel free, so put your attention. So feel free to sit for these as well, and then lead your back with your elbows. So you're really just kind of sliding up and then sliding down. So one little correction, if we're in this position, your elbows start at your side, your arms are bent, you slide up, and then you lead back down with your elbows, if that helps for a visual for everybody. Okay? All right, our next one's on there. We actually utilize a door or a door frame. And so what we're going to do is you take that band and you're going to secure it into a door. You could hook it on a hinge. And again, this is going to be a door that opens away from you. And what motion we're doing is we're pulling down and back in this way. Okay, so the band's going to go a little bit elevated here, and then you're going to pull down and back. Okay, so this involves obviously putting it in a door, which I'm just trying not to move the computer around and stuff, but it's going to be that down and back. If you have anybody, so we'd actually, I'm gonna show you guys this way because it's going to be easier. See if okay. So ideally, I want to do a door that opens away from me, so ignore what I'm doing. But we're going to put this in a door hinge. and then I'm going to pull down. And you want to make sure it's secured. I'm doing it on a door that opens away from me. So if that gives you guys a better visual, hopefully that did, of what we want to do for that. And then the next exercises as well, we're going to put that at door handle height. So can I steal your hands? I'm going to steal a participant's hands. I'm trying not to, if you didn't want to get in the video, hold this for me. So if I'm putting this in a door frame, I'm pulling back and forth. So my participant here is my helper in the door frame. And so I'm just like rowing a boat. Okay. So if this is hooked in a door frame, this is my exercise. Okay. So it's a little hard with the camera to try to really depict this without moving stuff around a ton. But this is going to be kind of our rowing exercise that's next on the list. So apologies if those two were tough, but hopefully the pictures for those will help you to really decipher what we were looking at doing. Okay. All right. So here is where we kind of go a little bit more into our core exercise. So I will show you these in two different positions. So for those people who want to do seated, I will demonstrate that first. And then I'm going to go ahead and I will get down onto the mat and show people who want to do a little bit more. Realizing that not everybody wants to climb up and off the ground. So what we're going to be doing is working those outer hip muscles. Super important for our core, for our stability, etc. Hopefully you guys can see that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a loop out of my band. I'm going to kind of attach that around my knees. We could do two exercises that I'll show you right away. So, concentrate really on sitting upright. And if you guys are going to do mat exercises, you could try these. Get your band kind of set. But if you're going to do it down on the mat anyways, this is just the non-mat version. So if we're in this position, we're going to work just doing a clam. Okay, so we're still doing the same type of thing. The other thing I would suggest is, because we're trying to do that for core, let's not like really slouch in our chair and then just do this. Try to really engage those core muscles, sit up, and then work our clam. So we can do a clam in that position. So we're trying to get through our 10 just to see where we feel with that, okay? Then what we're gonna do, we're gonna switch it up a little bit. So we're gonna hold one leg stable. That's gonna make us like isometrically hold this muscle right here. And then we're just gonna rotate that opposite leg out while we're keeping this stable. We don't wanna see this leg wobble all over. So we're just coming in through here and still doing that same clam. So for this, we'll do 10 on that side. Okay. And now we're going to work to keep this one stable. And then let's try our 10 on that side. And it really makes you kind of isolate those muscles out. So just see where you feel after 10. Again, remember our target is going to get up to about 30. But start at 10 if you want to see how you feel. Like, stuff might feel great while you're doing it. But if you haven't done these type of things in a while, just listen to your body. You could always go up. If you start out too aggressive, it's harder to figure out what you could have done had you taken it a little bit more slowly. So next, what I'm going to do is same thing. Let's go ahead and I'll show you what we're going to do when we're on our back, okay? The next few exercises, there is really no way to replicate a bridge on your chair. So the next, I think, 4 exercises will all be kind of on your mat. So we're going to get down onto our mat. Same thing like we just did in the chair. We're going to keep our belly and our core nice and tight. So you're going to engage those abs to the ground, and we're going to do that same clam, okay? So we're resisting it snapping in on the way in. So it's nice as if it takes you 2 or 3 counts to bring the band out, we want it to take that same 2 or 3 to bring it back in. We don't want to go out and then let it come back in real rapidly. It's just as important to resist that motion on the way in. So we're going to do our 10 here for a start. And then same thing, we're going to hold that left leg nice and stable. So really kind of engage that core and pull that band out. Slowly let it come in. Okay, again, we want to avoid that type of rocking motion. And then we also want to avoid that leg moving a lot. So we're really trying to keep that left leg as stable as we can, almost like we're holding it in place, but we're using our muscles to do that. Then we're going to come into this position and we're going to pull out on that left, really feeling like we're holding that right leg nice and stable. And if this stuff feels easy and you're doing your yellow band, you know that maybe the next time you do it, you're going to try that red band just to see how that feels. Okay, so that takes us through the band exercises that we just did on the chair. The next exercises we're going to do are still in this position. They're going to be our bridges. So what we can do, a couple different things. We kind of get our knees shoulder width apart. One thing we can do, kind of like we did with that band up the wall, we're going to put a little tension on the band and then we're going to do our bridge. So you're trying to just hold a little bit of tension. That'll really make you engage those glutes as you lift up and down. So before you lift, we're going to put a little tension on that band. And then we're going to lift up, really getting those glutes squeezed as you get to the top of that bridge. And that just isolates that out a little bit more. Are you guys doing okay here? Okay. So we'll try 10 of those. Nice and slow, or you could do a couple second hold at the top and really make sure you're squeezing those glutes and then bring yourself down. Okay. So we'll get through our 10 with those. Do a couple more just so we can demonstrate. And nice and slow and controlled, okay? Next, we can throw in, we've already worked our clams, but what we can do is also incorporate a clam into this workout. So when we're coming into this position, same thing, we're gonna put a little tension on there. We're gonna go up. The picture is hard to depict this, but I wrote in the comment sections, when you get to here, you're gonna go up, out, in, and then down. So we're incorporating that clam at the top of the bridge. Okay, so we're going to go up, out, in, down. This one is probably going to be a little bit tougher than just the plain bridge. So if you're feeling a lot of challenge with just a bridge, get yourself stronger with that exercise, and then you can always progress yourself up towards this exercise. As always, you don't have to do this with a band. So you can do just a regular bridge, do your clam, bring it back in, and then bring it back down if using a yellow band feels too difficult as well. So this just gives you another way to try to progress this exercise by going through the band colors. Try a couple more here. And then we'll go ahead and switch. The last one with the band on a mat is going to be doing a side clam, and I'll tell you guys a little bit about that as well. Okay, so that's that one. And I'm also going to go out of order on this a little bit because I do have a couple more on the mat that I don't want to have you guys have to get up and down. So I'll reference those as we go through. As we're on the mat now, our next one is going to be a side clam. This one can be good for doing just even if you're in bed. That might be a good position to do this as well. Same thing, you don't have to do this with resistance. The most important thing to do is to think of most of the motion coming right from that hip. So you're lifting up and then you're bringing it back down. Okay. When we're doing this, the hardest thing to do is really to isolate out. We're trying to get that glute, which is kind of right here. The hardest thing to do is not to let your back move. So if you just want to go up as high as you can, you almost want to think that your back is resting up against the wall. Am I off? Okay, and same thing, if this is too much resistance with doing a band, go ahead and just do that. Am I hard to see? Okay. Just go ahead and do that just without a band. And then we would go ahead and switch. And then we're going to try that opposite side as well. Okay. So in that position, then we're just going to switch it. And let's try 10 on that opposite side so we kind of even it out. Okay. So if we're here, same thing, clam it. Just all the motion that you can get from that hip. Try to keep you could bend your knees a little bit more and then keep your heels together. And it doesn't have to be a huge motion. If you can only come here, just start there. Okay, so we're getting close to our 10. Hopefully everybody's feeling it right in that glute area, which would be kind of like almost like the side in your back pocket. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit off and I'll reference for you guys what page we're going to be on. But I'm going to jump ahead to page 9. And then I will go back. I'll jump back and forth a little bit just for people who are sitting and aren't doing mat exercises, okay? What we can do on our hands and knees, keep that wrapped around, and we're going to do a fire hydrant. So you're in that hands and knees position. And we're going to come, hopefully, I don't know which way you guys can see better. I'm going to go off. We're going to raise up and down. Okay. And then we'll switch sides as well. So I'll try a different angle here so you guys could see what the angle is that we're doing. So we're lifting a little bit, kind of like a little bit like the male dog. So our knee is just coming straight up to the side. And a lot of times with this, because you are using that resistance, you could start to feel like you're using that right hip just as much as you're using the left, because we're relying a lot on that right hip to stabilize ourselves, even though we're moving that left hip up and down. Okay, so that goes through some of those. I'm going to take this band off because the next one I'm going to show you is, I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with a bird dog, but we can also do a resisted version of a bird dog. So we're going to grab, and you could do different variations. You can use just your arms. So for that, I'm going to kneel on the band on my opposite side. So if I want to work just my arms with this, I can come here and just work this way. Okay? Just the arm part of your bird dog. If we want to work the whole bird dog, what we're going to do is tie around our ankle. And this one I'll show one-sided. So I have it tied around my one ankle. You could hook it actually more on your shoe. And then we're going to come out and back. The key with this is to try to keep as stable as you can across your back. We don't want to see a lot of lifting, twisting, turning. So it's all about keeping your spine and everything in neutral. Keep your gaze down. Hold a couple seconds if you want more of a challenge. Okay, for those, if you guys want to continue with those, what I'm going to do is so if you want to try to do a little bit of a bird dog in a chair, you can still try to do a little bit of marching and just always work your opposites. So stay nice and stable and just try to kind of move opposite arm up with opposite leg. And you don't even have to use a band for that. Just try to maintain good upright posture. And you're going to march up your opposite leg and your opposite arm if doing the hands and knees is too tough on your joints. So just one simple way. If you wanted to add a little resistance to that, what I would do is put that, but you don't have to. And that just makes you engage your core a little bit. If you wanted to challenge the arm a little bit, if you don't have like that orthopedic problems or anything with your shoulders, you could hook that band under your foot. So you're adding that resistance in with the arm. Okay, and you're trying to really maintain that real upright posture, really watching your core. Okay.
I go back.
Yeah. And we're talking about it in here. I know you guys can't see exactly what we're doing, but you have to resist that urge to try to want to lean back when you're doing it. So that's where you tighten that core. And even if you only come up to here, you're still going to get a little bit of work in those abs. Okay. So that's just a modification that we can use when we're wanting to like not kneel on our knees, knowing that some of us might have problems with our joints. Okay, now we're going to go kind of backwards a little bit towards where we left off. And we left off in standing. So I know if anybody else has been in some of the other classes, I know we've done sidestepping and I know we've also done monster walk, but this is just adding the resistance component to it. So if we want to go ahead, we could use our bands and we could do a couple of things. The bands could be knotted and you could put them at your ankles or you could move them up to your knees. Lower you go should probably feel a little bit tougher. But if you're here, a little bit of tension on that band. Okay. Still, we're not leaning forward. We're still trying to maintain that good posture. If your band is really loose, what I would suggest doing is taking it off and you could twist it in the middle. So if this was too loose on me, I would twist it a couple times in the middle and then bring it through. And that makes it a little bit tighter. So depending if you need a certain size for everything. Okay, so we're just going to keep our shoulders nice and upright. We don't want a lot of rocking. If we do too much rocking, it takes our core out of it. So we're going to do nice steps. Choose your path at home as well. If it's a kitchen counter, if you need a little bit of something to keep you stable, you could get a little bit of bend in the knee. We're having a fire alarm, virtual people, so I don't know what we're doing at this present moment, but I think it stopped. Okay, well, that was fun. So we're going to still stay a little bit knees bent. Shoulders are staying nice and stable. Like I said, not a lot of this translation side to side. And again, if you have a lot of joint problems, just be easy on your joints and you might not need the resistance. Or if it's tough with it at your ankles, put it above your knees and see if that doesn't help as well. So if you find a place at home where you can take nice, decent steps, and you feel like you have something, because again, sometimes with neuropathies, et cetera, we have problems with balance, have something there if you need for stability. I know we're talking about strengthening, but all these exercises help posture, help core, and help our balance as well. We know fall risks are a huge topic. So we did that. Now we're going to do what we call a monster walk. So we're going to start with our feet together. We're going to go out to the side, bring it back. Out to the side, bring it back. Out to the side, bring it back. Same thing. We're looking upright. We're not leaning over. Maintain that good upright posture. And same thing. I have it now on my knees. We could also put it at our ankles. So kind of we're going to go forward into the side. Perfect. Forward into the side. Forward into the side. I don't know if anybody remembers like the Monkeys, this TV show, they kind of like did this walking down the street. Okay, so I'll go one more time, come back. And then most likely we're gonna go back down. We're gonna put that band a little bit at our ankles for the next one. I'm gonna bring the chair into the video as well, just so we have safety when we're doing the next one. So again, same thing. These do not have to be done with resisted bands. So for anybody out there who's worried that that's gonna put too much pressure, you can also do these without bands. So the final 3 exercises we have on there involve a little bit of balance, and then they also involve resistance. So we're going to stand on one leg. So again, we're working balance, which is good. We're going to work little motions, okay? So it doesn't have to be big motions. I don't care how high you lift your leg. It's whether you're able to maintain your control. And so if we're here, I'm standing on my one leg. I have my chair here. You could have your chair or whatever, wherever you want. I'm just doing this so you guys could see better. But when we do this, we're coming here, we're just doing little kick to the side. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a huge kick. We want to all, like these chairs that we're using, for most of us are probably a little short. So our tendency is to lean on them. But we want to like maintain real upright. You know, think about those shoulder blades. You're squeezing your shoulder blades. We're also working balance. So if you find a focus point, it's always good to kind of find that one thing to focus on. So like for me, there's a clock in front of me. I'm staring at it because I know I'm trying to balance. And the more you focus on something, it just helps you to balance. Okay, so we're going to do 10 one leg, and then we'll switch. 10 the other leg. So again, it doesn't have to be huge ranges of motion. We just want to balance, concentrate, and move. Okay, we're not letting those shoulders dip. That's the most important thing. So even if you move an inch, I'd rather have you move an inch than move 5 inches and do that. Okay, next we're going to go, and it's a backward kicking motion. So we're here, same thing, you're upright, you're doing a little kick. We're just engaging those glutes. But as you could see, if I'm here, I'm staying upright. Okay, so you're just engaging, you're pulling back, you're kicking those glutes. We're not kicking and then bending forward. So you're only going to what your hip motion allows you to do. Okay, and then we could switch and do the other side. And likewise, sometimes it feels different on one side versus the other. You might be stronger standing on one side, or you may have had a joint replacement that affects one side versus the other. So again, be mindful of all of those orthopedic conditions, and don't push through pain. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to do that in 3 different positions. So we already did out to the side, we did back. Now we're going to just kick forward. So same thing, we're kicking forward, but we're not bending, we're not tipping. Okay, so the motion's all coming from the hip. Knee is staying straight while you're doing this as well on your kicking leg. Okay, so we're trying to keep everything nice and stable. And you're getting all that motion coming from the hip. And then we could go ahead and switch that out, balance on that left leg, and we're going to kick forward with the right. If you feel like you have the control, you can do this if you're strong enough without holding on to challenge yourself more. I always just like, for safety purposes, because we're all at different levels, to just advise having something stable. Even these chairs is a little bit rough because they will slide. So we don't want you to rely on something that's unstable for balance, but this is kind of the best we have here. So at home, make sure you're holding on to like a table or something that is very stable. Okay? So that takes us through our group of exercises. The possibilities are kind of endless when it comes to bands. But I think this gave us a pretty decent overview to just work kind of our fundamental body parts. It incorporated a little bit of core. It incorporated some upper body stuff. And again, I think remember that the most important is to maintain good form over quantity. So it's really always going to be, with anything you're doing, it's going to be quality over quantity. So I think that's a good reminder. You guys hopefully all have the bands. I think there'll be a little bit of an extra set here at the center. But otherwise, I know Lisa had sent out for the beginning level bands, just an easy Amazon link. And then just tie them and untie them, or, use one for the hip stuff and one for the arms, and just progress through those. There is another heavier set of bands that would probably incorporate the green, blue, and a black. So just know that's there. But for most people, the upper extremity doesn't need more than the green anyways. It would maybe be the lower extremity, but just be mindful of that. And work with the bands that you could work yourself up to about 30 repetitions would be my advice. So I guess now we can open it up if there's any questions. I don't know, does anybody here have any questions?
That's great, Karyn. Let me go ahead and stop the